All right, good afternoon, and welcome to Imagine IT's OneDrive training. This training is specifically designed for people who are currently using Dropbox personal accounts who would like to migrate their company data to a Office 365 OneDrive location. Just before we get started on the technical stuff, very quickly, just a little bit about Imagine IT. We are a homegrown Minnesotan company founded in 2012. The result of a merger between Next Level Cafe and Duralogic, two other MSPs. Collectively, over a decade in managed services here in Minnesota. We are located in Bloomington. We have 130 plus partners across the metro. And 70+% of the staff here at Imagine IT are actually technicians. So when you call in, most likely you're going to be speaking with a technician, not somebody from administrative or back office staff. And they're going to be based right here in Minnesota. Just a quick overview of who I am. My name's Derek Hansel. I am the service manager for the Blue team here at Imagine IT. I've been in the IT industry as a full-time professional for about 10 years. 5 years in managed services. I am a Microsoft certified professional, both technically and in CIE, customer immersion experience. And I am a WatchGuard certified technician. And here's just a quick look at our team as it exists today. Right, so let's get down to business here. OneDrive. So why are we moving to OneDrive? We've been using our Dropbox personal accounts maybe for a while and it's working for us, but what are the benefits here? First of all, and maybe primarily, it's a lot more space. So a personal Dropbox account only really gets you about 2 gigs worth of storage, not about, exactly 2 gigs worth of storage. And your OneDrive account included with your Office 365 subscription gives you 1 terabyte, which is 1,000 gigs. So pretty big bump in the amount of storage available. And that storage is actually shared across all subscribers. So if you have heavy users and light users, you automatically pool that 1 terabyte per user into a bucket, and everyone has access to the entirety of that bucket, not just a 1 terabyte hard limit for everybody. OneDrive also better integrates with your other Office applications, and can kind of function as a fulcrum or a linchpin for moving files around across Office 365 and across your applications. As I mentioned already, it's included with your Office 365 subscription, so there's no reason really not to use it. It's out there and it's available, so it's really just about using it effectively. So we'll get the basics down today, and there's more exploring to do with OneDrive in terms of how it talks to other systems and applications that make it even more powerful. We can get into those in other training sessions. So here are our goals for today. We're going to get connected to OneDrive. We'll talk about 3 ways you can do that. We're going to transfer files from Dropbox to OneDrive. That will include downloading and installing the Dropbox agent to make that happen more quickly, more easily, in kind of a file explorer or macOS Finder type setting that most people are comfortable with. We're going to share documents internally and externally from OneDrive, and then we're going to figure out how we look at those permissions on those shared documents and folders, and then we can, remove or modify those permissions for documents that have already been shared. We're going to learn how to sync SharePoint folders using the OneDrive Sync Agent. It's just a fringe benefit of the new OneDrive Sync Agent. And then we're going to connect OneDrive to your other Office applications. Like I mentioned, that's one of the benefits over Dropbox, is that it kind of talks natively to Office 2016 apps. So 3 ways primarily to get connected to OneDrive. The first is, as you might expect, through the web interface, through Office 365's website. You can go to a couple of different websites to get logged into Office 365. You can simply go to office.com and click the sign in the top right. If you more specifically go to login.microsoftonline.com, that'll bring you directly to the Office 365 login. Start by typing in your username, which is your email address. If you use that email address for both a work account and a personal Office 365 account, you'll get the box on the right asking you to specify. In this case, we're going to click work or school account in that box on the right if we're prompted. And after you've done that, if you have two-factor authentication enabled on your Office 365 account, after you've typed in your password and clicked sign in, you'll get the box on the right, and then you'll either be prompted for a 6-digit PIN that it'll text to you, or to approve a two-factor prompt on your phone, which will finish passing your credentials through and get you signed in to Office 365. Next step is to open OneDrive from what we affectionately refer to as the waffle. So this is what you'll see once you get logged into Office 365. Your starting page may be different. It may not be Outlook. It may be somewhere else. It may be your SharePoint site. But regardless of what Office 365 page you land on to start, you will see the waffle in the top left-hand corner. That's the 9 dots. It's also been called the hamburger. I guess whatever your preferred food metaphor is fine. So you'll go ahead and click the waffle or the 9 dots or the hamburger, and then click on OneDrive. It's worth noting that you can also right-click on this icon and click Open a New Tab to make sure that you get a fresh tab that only has OneDrive in it. And then you can come back to your home screen for Office 365 later in another tab if you like. And that's pretty much it for accessing OneDrive through the web. Once you've clicked that link, you're there. You're ready to go. You'll have a number of options available to you, some of which we'll go into in a little bit more detail here in this training. Number 2, second way to access this is the OneDrive Sync client, as I alluded to earlier. This client more or less makes OneDrive function as a folder or drive on your computer that you can sync files with, much like you can with the Dropbox client. The kind of step-by-step instructions on how to install the agent are in these documents that are linked here. The first section there is the link to the actual agent download, and then the second 2 links are to Imagine IT created documentation around setting up those sync clients, installing and configuring it, both for Windows and for Mac. Links to those documents will be available via other media. You won't unfortunately be able to click on those links inside this video, but the instructions contained therein are pretty thorough and easy to follow. So once you've completed that setup in those instructions, if you're in Windows, you will see the OneDrive icon appear on the left. In this particular example, this person has both a Office 365 Business OneDrive account and a personal OneDrive account. One of the things that Microsoft implemented with the new Sync agent was to unify the personal and business accounts under one agent. So streamlines the syncing of files across 2 different accounts, which makes life a lot easier, as opposed to having 2 different pieces of software to sync files for personal and business OneDrive accounts. And in Mac OS, it looks like this. You can notice on the left-hand side there under Favorites that you've got a OneDrive. It's got the OneDrive icon, and then it'll be followed by a dash and the company name. In this case, for me, Imagine IT. In Mac, you can also find the OneDrive icon in the file bar at the top of the screen, next to the clock in the top right-hand corner. You will see that OneDrive cloud icon there once the software has been successfully installed and configured. And it won't really be covered in the scope of this training, but there is a mobile app for OneDrive. I recommend using it. It's great, actually. You can sync files, upload files, download files, open files. If you're not already aware, most of the Office suite is available as a mobile app for both iOS and Android, and also Windows Mobile Phone if that's your particular preferred flavor of mobile OS. But you can go to the Google Play Store or the iOS App Store and download these apps at your leisure. Get signed in with your Office 365 account and play around with them. There's a lot of functionality out there. But like I said, not really covered under the scope of this training. All right, so next step here is installing the Dropbox agent and then moving the files from Dropbox to your OneDrive. So once again, we have some documentation already created for getting the Dropbox agent installed. The links are here on the screen, so you could certainly pause and type them in. We will also be able to provide you with clickable links through other documentation so that it is a little easier to get to these docs, but these docs will walk you through how to download and install that Dropbox agent so that you can get started moving your files. Transferring the files is really as simple as doing a copy paste. So you can open up two Windows Explorer windows by holding the Windows key and pressing E twice. That'll open up two Windows Explorer windows. And then on Mac, you can open a new Finder window from the Finder icon in your application dock. And once you have one of them open, you can press Command N to open a second Finder window. In the first window, go ahead and pop open your Dropbox folder, which you should see in the left-hand side, just like you see your OneDrive folder after you've installed the Dropbox agent. And then in the other, open your OneDrive folder. And then you can either select all of those files and move them over, or selectively choose which files to move over. Control Command A will get a select all, and you can also Control or Command click on individual files and folders to select them. I would recommend doing a copy as opposed to moving them. If you're feeling confident, you can go ahead and move them. You can click and drag them. You could also do Control Command X instead of Control Command C to do a cut. And then click into that second Finder or Windows Explorer window and paste the files. So you can Control Command V. You can also right click and select Paste from the context menu that pops up. Those files will copy locally first. So they will move or copy from the local synchronized copy of those files for Dropbox to the folder location on your computer for your OneDrive folder. And once that copy or move is complete, they will begin to sync up to the OneDrive cloud folder. You can check the sync status of your files from the icon either in the system tray in Windows down by the clock, usually in the bottom right-hand corner, or from the OneDrive icon in the file bar in Mac OS X or Mac OS in the top right-hand corner by the clock. That's where you'll also check for things like sync errors, which troubleshooting those aren't covered in the scope of this training, but anyone at Imagine IT would be able to help you resolve those sync errors should you run into any problems getting your files to sync in OneDrive. All right, so now that we've got some files sitting in our OneDrive, let's talk a little bit about sharing those files, both internally and externally, and a couple of the different ways we can do that. So there are really two ways to start sharing inside of OneDrive. Universally for both Windows and Mac OS X or Mac OS, if you navigate to the OneDrive section of Office 365, you can select individual files or folders and then click that share button as shown on the screen here. In Windows only, you can also right-click on a file inside of your OneDrive and then click more OneDrive sharing options as depicted here, and that will actually open up a web browser and bring you to that file inside of the web interface. So it more or less functions as a shortcut to the web interface inside of Windows. That option is not available in OS X or Mac OS. And I will point out that there's another menu option here called Share With. That only allows you to share files on the computer that you're logged into or within your broader Windows domain. If you actually want to share files in Office 365 using Office 365, you have to do one of the two options we described just now. Either go and log into the web interface or click the More OneDrive Sharing Options context menu option here as shown on the screen. So regardless of which method you use to initiate the sharing, this is the window that you'll see. If you don't see this kind of a window, it likely means you're using the new OneDrive interface. The new OneDrive interface is pretty cool, and it has one feature that the classic interface does not have, which we'll talk a little bit about later. But in general, the classic OneDrive interface has more options for sharing. They've stripped some of these options out, I think in an effort to streamline inside the new OneDrive interface, but all of the screenshots and instructions contained in this training, with one exception, are for the classic OneDrive interface. If you want to switch the classic OneDrive interface, you can do so by clicking the corresponding link in the bottom left-hand corner of the OneDrive screen inside the web browser. So in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see an option that says Switch to OneDrive Classic. If you click that, you will be brought to the classic interface, and then your windows will look like the ones that are depicted in this training here. So this is a pretty self-explanatory box, but it's worth going through. We've got three options in this box, the first of which is invite people. That's going to send an email with an invitation to the file that you're sharing. One thing to note is if you type an email address for someone who's external to your organization, you'll receive a warning saying that they're outside your organization. You'll also want to note that to the right of the box where you type in email addresses, there's a drop down for either can edit or can view. So that gives read-only or read-write permissions to the file that you're sharing. And then the third thing to really note is there's a box that says requires sign-in. Now what this does, when the recipient clicks on the link they receive in their email, they'll be brought to a sign-in page for Microsoft. They can sign in with a personal Microsoft account or a corporate Microsoft account. It matters not. And there's some caveats to how you track who has access to the documents that hinge on whether you require sign-in or not. So if you require sign-in, you will see the individual email address sitting in the shared with option, that third option on the left there. If you don't, essentially what happens is it generates a link that can be shared around to anyone with those either can edit or can view permissions. And then anyone who has that link is able to access that document with the permissions that you specify. And so how you revoke or modify those permissions is a little bit different in that case. So require sign-in, you can treat that as maximum security and maximum auditability in terms of who has access to the document. If you want maximum convenience, then uncheck that box for require sign-in. And you can also type a message there to include with the email invitation if you like. And then when you're all set, go ahead and click that share button, and the recipient will receive that email within a couple of minutes. So the second option there on that share window is to get a link for sharing. There's a drop-down menu in this. This is kind of the core component of this screen. Inside that drop-down are 4 or 5 different options for the kinds of links that you're generating. The restricted link you probably won't use ever. The view and edit links require an account essentially serve as the same function as checking that box on the email invitation. So if they click the link, they will be prompted to sign in with a Microsoft account of some kind. And then the view links, view and edit links with no sign-in required are those maximum portability and convenience links that don't require a sign-in. And for those no sign-in required links, you can actually set an expiration date as shown in the screenshot there. So if you know that they're only going to need access to that file for a day or 30 days, you can set that expiration so that it'll only work for that long. You can also set a custom expiration date if those broader options don't suit your needs. And once you've generated that link, you can copy and paste it into an email or into a chat message, however you'd like to share that link out, and then send that along to the individuals or groups that you need to have access to that document. So we've already shared some files here in this scenario, but we want to check with whom and how we've shared these documents or folders. Inside again of the classic OneDrive interface, if you select a file by clicking the column kind of to the left of the file icon, you will be able to click the 3 dots to the right of the file name, and then you'll get a snapshot of the sharing kind of in the middle of that window that pops out. So you get a preview of the document at the top there, and then if you shared it with individual people, either internally or with external people, they will be listed under the shared with heading. And if you've generated links, you'll see the details of those links that you've generated as well, just below the individual names that are listed there. And you can actually quickly copy that edit link, as you can see there, and paste that. So without ever going into the sharing screen from the front page of OneDrive, you can access all of this information, which is pretty handy. If you want the details of individuals who have had this document shared with them, you can go back into that share screen either by clicking the shared link to the right hand of the modify date. There are a couple other ways that you can get to this shared screen. You can kind of click around and find them, but surefire way is to click the shared link, like I said, to the right of the modified date. And then click the shared with option on the left-hand side. It's that third of 3 options in the sharing screen. And you can scroll through the full list of everyone who has this document shared with them and see their current permissions. So you can then change those permissions or remove those permissions entirely using the drop-down menu to the right of their name. And then clicking the Save Changes button at the bottom of the sharing screen once you've set everything how you like it. If you'd like to revoke a sharing link, go back to the Get a Link option inside the share screen. For any link that you have generated, when you click the drop-down menu, you'll see in parentheses that it says created. If you select one of those options and then click the remove link to the right of the text field where the link has been generated, you'll get prompted with this closing the door message, and you can choose to disable the link at that moment. You can always regenerate the link later if you need it again. So just a couple of pro tips around this sharing functionality. When you send an email to people outside the organization and uncheck the box that requires sign-in, this essentially creates a share link that's based on the permission level you set of either can view or can edit. So instead of going into that list of people to revoke access, you would actually go to the get a link section and revoke that link. And as I mentioned before, when you check the box to require sign-in, those individual people, regardless of whether they're inside or outside your organization, will show up in the shared with list. So you can modify their individual permissions instead of having to revoke a link. And if you've shared with people across your organization or even outside your organization, and you want to revoke permissions across the board, there's a stop sharing link inside of the sharing window, as long as you have permissions to revoke sharing for everyone that you've shared the document with. So in some cases, you may not be the owner of the document, so you may not see that link, but in most cases, you will see the stop sharing link. And if you just want to start from zero and revoke all permissions, you can click that link and take care of it kind of in one shot. All right, so you may have noticed as you were browsing through OneDrive that the web address in your web browser actually refers to your SharePoint website. That's because OneDrive is more or less built on top of SharePoint. So SharePoint is becoming this platform on top of which a number of other services exist, and that includes OneDrive. So what that helps us with actually is having these two services talk to each other and kind of behave seamlessly. And that includes now the ability with the new Sync client to synchronize SharePoint libraries. So if we want to sync a new SharePoint library or folder, the first thing we're going to do is browse to our SharePoint library. And this can work either from the classic view or the new SharePoint view. In this particular case, you'll see the classic SharePoint view in the screenshots here. So once you get to the folder that you would like to sync, you can click the sync button at the top. If you only want to sync individual files or folders inside of other folders, you can select those by clicking in the check column to the left of the folder icon or file icon, and then clicking the sync button. Once you click that sync button, you'll get a little pop-in window inside the browser that says sync now. You'll want to go ahead and click sync now. And in all likelihood, unless you've done this before and already checked the box in the open OneDrive prompt there, you'll want to go ahead and click open Microsoft OneDrive. As to whether you check the box or not, that just depends on whether you want to be prompted every time you go to sync a library or file or folder inside of SharePoint. After clicking open Microsoft OneDrive, you'll receive this window. It'll look a little bit different in Mac, but almost exactly the same. And this is just asking which of these folders or files inside of this SharePoint library do you wish to sync. So you don't have to sync everything all at once. One thing I'll note is at the bottom, it tells you how many megabytes worth of files you're about to sync versus the storage that's left on the hard drive of the computer that you are working on. So take care not to sync more files than you have storage for. Once this is complete and the sync is done, in Windows Explorer, you'll see on the left-hand side a SharePoint icon now alongside your OneDrive icon. And the individual libraries or folders that you've chosen to sync will show up underneath that, kind of in your traditional Windows file hierarchy. And then in Mac OS or OS X, you'll have a folder now in your favorites that has the company name. And that is your SharePoint libraries that have been synced. So you can see there that I have a view that shows me each file and folder as I drill down into that directory. And then if you've synced more than one library or folder, you'll see those underneath the root SharePoint folder inside of Finder. This is a feature that we've been asked about a couple of times, and unfortunately it's only available in the new OneDrive web interface. So if you're having trouble getting back to that new interface and moving files from OneDrive to SharePoint is something that's pretty important to you, I know that it is for a lot of our partners, give us a ring and we can get you back to the new interface. The only caveat being that the training that we've done up to this point will look and feel a little bit different and may not have all the features that are present in the classic interface. But to some people, this may be more important than those other features. So you can move files natively from your OneDrive to your SharePoint sites if needed. So go ahead and open up your OneDrive in a web browser, select the files or folders that you want to move, and then click those three dots at the top and select Copy To. Then you'll have to kind of go through what is admittedly a laborious task of finding the folder inside of SharePoint that you want to move the files to or copy the files to. It may show up natively underneath the SharePoint site name. If it doesn't, then you will likely need to click Browse Sites and then traverse the file structure of SharePoint to figure out where that folder is that you want to copy these files to. Once you have found that folder or library, select it and then click the Copy Here button. And that's pretty much it. You'll want to confirm that that the copy was completed successfully. But in my testing, it's worked pretty much every time. There is a way to do this in the old OneDrive interface, but it's much more complicated, and we'd need to spin up some documentation around doing that, which we certainly can do on demand. We can also show you how to do that if you give us a call, and we can get remoted into your computer and walk you through it. It's much, much easier in the new OneDrive interface, though. That's for sure. All right, and kind of finally here, our last bullet point is that OneDrive plays very nicely with other Office applications, specifically Office 2016 on Mac and Windows, and Office 2013 on Windows only. So you can open up pretty much any Office application and make sure that you are signed in with your Office 365 account. Kind of the only reason you wouldn't already be signed in is if you are purchasing Office retail as opposed to licensing it through Office 365 with us. If that's the case, you'll need to sign into your Office 365 account before this will work. Once you've done so, it should automatically grab your OneDrive and your SharePoint sites and pull them into the Office suite. If it doesn't, though, there is an Add a Service link as pictured here, where you can click that Add a Service link and then hover over Storage with your mouse cursor and then click either Office 365 SharePoint or OneDrive, depending on which service you're trying to add. It'll be that will cause a prompt to pop up for you to sign into Office 365 again, most likely. Complete the sign in prompt and then you'll see these services show up in your Office applications. So we've kind of gone through a lot today. If you have any questions at all, please shoot us an email to help@imagineiti.com or give us a ring at the help desk here, 952-224-2900. If you stumbled across this video and you're not an Imagine IT partner, we'd still love to hear from you. Again, it's 952-224-2900 for the help desk or help@imagineiti.com. And thanks for joining us.